Hey guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be working on several projects out in the garden, and it's beautiful out. When I walked out the door, I could feel that coolness in the air that you start to feel when you get closer to fall, and it just is invigorating. I love that. So I'm excited to be out doing some things. We're going to be harvesting potatoes. Not all of our varieties are ready to be dug yet, but the Huckleberry Golds definitely are. We'll take a look at the rest of them when we get out there. I like to pull the rest of the onions. I've got some perennial cleanup to do. We've got a dwarf nectarine tree that needs to be repotted, but we are sitting here in the Hartley because I've got to finish up quick a project that I started earlier this week. It has nothing to do with gardening, but I thought you guys might enjoy seeing it. So right in front of me, you can see all of the necessary elements that I need to put together the cutest bridal shower favor for Erin's sister, Alyssa. Her bridal shower is tonight. So I've put together most of them already. I've got 3 more to do. I just think they are turning out so cute, and to be quite honest, when I was asked to make the bridal shower favors, of course I'm super thrilled to do it, but I was racking my brain thinking, what do people put together for favors these days? And then I just started thinking about Alyssa. What does Alyssa love? Well, she loves everything to do with tea. She's a huge tea drinker. And also the blue and white toile is kind of her wedding theme. This is what Samantha's flower girl dress looks like. It's blue and white toile. So when I saw a teapot shaped box in that color, I had to snag it immediately. And then inside, we're putting one of these little tins of Harney & Sons wedding tea, a tea for marriage. There are 5 tea bags in here, and I just think they're beautiful. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze, but I just forced it to happen because everything just seemed perfect. And then on top of that, we're putting this little mini honey. Isn't that cute? Had to order these twice because the first time they came in, a bunch of them were broken. And then I just slide in a couple of these caramel sea salt Belgian chocolates in along the side. So all of that sort of fits in the middle of the teapot. And then I kind of try to make it look like it's a gift. I shove a couple of little pieces down of, the tissue paper down the sides so that when you open it up, there's a little tissue paper popping out. And then once it's all together, I tie a little bow, which I thought I bought satin, and it's totally not satin. It's very stiff, but I had already opened it all up, so we're going with it. Doesn't really matter. It's blue, so yeah, cute. Okay, so let's get these 3 put together. I do my best to show you guys the steps here. Kind of make your box opened up there. This part's a little tricky. So we don't want to rip the box. Let's see, get these pieces in here. There we go. And boom. Okay, so now we have our box. Now on 2 of the sides, we have one side for our spout, like this. I'll go in on this side right here. Slide that in. There we go. There's our tea spout. I don't know if that's what you call it. And then here's our handle. That's the piece. And that goes in on this side. There's little slits for these tabs to go through. And the more you put them together, the easier they get. Okay. So see when it's all closed? Little teapot, cute. Okay, now we're gonna force our tea tin in. Just, don't rip box, please. There you go. And it sits right there at the bottom. And then our honey. Then our chocolates. And then make it look like it's a present. I just put 2 pieces in. I'm gonna shove them down in there. Okay. And then we close it up. It came with these little tabs. They're like sticky tabs. And they're really hard to get. Probably be easier for people with nails, but I don't have fingernails. Not long ones anyway. I think this is the part that took me the longest. There we go. Okay, so it's a little sticky tab that you put on the little handle up top so that it'll stay together. Look at that. Oh, so cute. Okay, now for our ribbon. I really wish I would have gotten satin. I really wish I would have noticed that. This stuff's a pain. Okay. I'm gonna trim the ends. One down. Isn't that so cute? Okay, we have 2 more to make, and then we'll head out and actually get some gardening done. And there they are, all done. Oh, I'm just so pleased with how these came together. I think she's going to love them. Oh, and I needed to get that project done before I get completely messy out in the garden. So these are all clean and tidy, and they look awesome. So we are set to go to the bridal shower tonight. So now let's head out to the potatoes. Okay, here we are at the beginning of the potato row. And if you look close, like the most green things that you see are the weeds popping up through them. And we've got a few really beautiful volunteer sunflowers that we'll just leave alone if we can. But if you take a look at the plants as a whole, you can see that they're browning, they're starting to die back. I can see some potatoes pushing through the soil right there. I also, is that a gopher mound? That's what it looks like. Oh, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wow. Okay, well, that's a bunch of fresh soil in a mound, which usually means a gopher, so I don't know what we'll find. But if you walk down the potato row, you'll notice right about at the beginning of the next variety, these are still pretty green, which means the tubers, like we could dig them now, but the tubers still might form up a little bit bigger. So we'll leave those. The ones even further down from that, everything's massive in here, but they look just as fresh as can be, really. So for today, we'll just stick with this section right here. And I kind of love it when harvests happen this way, just a little bit at a time. That way you can really enjoy it instead of kind of being overwhelmed by having such a huge project to do. However, I did not plant near as many potatoes as I normally do. So yeah, this won't take very long. I did bring out some crates. Usually gather them up in the crates and then lay them out flat to dry. I'll explain that whole process once we're done. I'm using a digging fork to loosen the soil around the plants. I've got my kneeling pad, some gloves, and I also brought tags because I couldn't remember how I identified what was what here. Did I use, oh no, I've got big ones. Yep, this is perfect. So I like to take my tag out, and then once I've got a bunch of potatoes in here, I stick this in here so we can keep varieties separated. But this is what they are. They're the large T labels, 13 inches, and I just use a garden marker. All right, guys, here we go. First plant, you guys. Just wanted to show you the size of some of these potatoes. Huckleberry golds are beautiful anyway. Got that purple skin and then they've got kind of a goldish white interior. So we're gonna line them all up here in our crate. I hope all the plants have this many potatoes under them. You do have to, like after you loosen the soil around the plant, like the whole plant will come out and you shake the soil off as much as you can anyway. Then you kind of want to run your fingers underneath that loosened soil because sometimes they'll produce a potato kind of far away from the base of the plant. So there's probably like, I could still probably claw around in this soil and find a couple. Okay, let's get the rest of them done. All right, here's the first crate of huckleberry golds. Now I've learned over the years not to fill them all the way up. They get so heavy. And here's the second crate right here. I did cut one in half. All I had was a box knife though, so I was only able to cut around the outside and I had to twist it apart in the center. That's why it looks weird. But I just wanted to show you what the interior of these potatoes look like. They're beautiful. Oh my goodness. And you can see they vary greatly in size. I mean, there are some that are smaller that may have formed up bigger had we left them under the ground a little bit longer. And there's some real great big ones. Once we have our potatoes lifted, we need to dry them because you'll notice that most of these have wet soil all the way around them. If you have the ability to cut the irrigation to your potatoes a few days before you're ready to lift them, that's even better, but mine are all connected to the beans and the corn that still need the moisture, so I wasn't able to turn mine off. But by laying them flat on the ground in the barn like we do with our onions and garlic, it gives the soil a chance to dry up and it also gives the skin a chance to cure. Because what will happen with these brand new potatoes, if you take your thumb and do one of these, ooh, these are nicely cured. These were ready. Let me find one. Okay, so like right here. See if I use my thumb, I can rough the skin off. By letting them dry for several days in a, well ventilated, warmish area that's protected from sun, it'll allow that skin a chance to heal so that when you do this, like I'm doing on this one, it won't come off and the storage life will be so much better. At the end of the drying period, we lightly brush the soil off the potatoes and then we separate them based on size. We do one basket full of large potatoes, usually store longer, and one basket of small potatoes, which usually we'll try to use up as quick as we can. Now, I did run into a few extras. Different varieties. Some of my red Pontiacs must have been mixed up with my huckleberry golds because this is only like 3 red Pontiac plants right here. They are so dang productive. And then I don't even know what variety these are. Maybe they're Yukons, but I don't, they could have been volunteers from a previous year. So 3 yellow potatoes, a bunch of Pontiacs, and then all of our huckleberry golds. And we'll take a look at this area. I got it kind of cleaned up, left the sunflowers, packed soil back in around their roots. Hopefully they do okay. I do have one potato plant that when we dig this sunflower, we'll probably get some potatoes from underneath it. And then our next variety is Pontiacs, and they are starting to dry down. You'll notice that the leaves look a little bit dark on some of the edges, but we're gonna wait a little bit longer. That way the skin will be a little bit more formed up around those potatoes. What's the next variety? There it is. Oh, German butterballs are the next. These still look fresh, fresh, fresh. Before we pull onions, because I do want to pull the rest of those today, we need to run the potatoes to the barn because you don't want to leave them exposed to sunlight. The longer they're exposed to sunlight, the more green, they form up, and that concentrated in the potato can be poisonous. So anyway, but real quick before we head to the barn, you got to see these zinnias. Look at this. Like if we walk down this row, it's just incredible. Incredible. We've got some green ones here. These are pink senoritas. This whole row are California giants, and they're just the happiest bunch ever. And some of the cosmos are starting to bloom down here, and then our sunspot sunflowers are getting ready to roll. But right down toward the end here are all the floret varieties. These are the giant, creamy yellow giant dahlia flowered. And then starting right here, these are all the floret varieties. And they all have a very similar kind of color palette, but different bloom structures. Look at this. Oh my gosh, they're so gorgeous. These have a little bit more pink in them, a little more silvery. They're just soft and wonderful. And a look back down the other way because we need to go back down to the gator. These are not staked, and I do not thin them, and I do not pinch them. I just put oh, look, there's a bumble. Look at that. All right, Bumble, I need to go past you. Oop. Yeah, so I just seed heavy, let them come up, let them do their thing, and this is what you get. Okay, potatoes are in the barn, so now we're gonna take after the rest of these onions. Most of them have flopped, and I kind of just wanna get this cleaned up so we can get ready for something new in here. But I've got a few in here that might be contenders for the largest onion this year. We weighed one after the last onion harvest, and it was 2.7 pounds. So we'll see if we get some that match that, or maybe beat it. Oh, look at this one. My word. And there we have it. That is the last of the onions to be harvested. We've got the rest of the candies right here. Walla Walla's here, and in the crate, the yellow sweet Spanish. So now we need to get these into the barn, maybe weigh a couple of them. And this is what's left of the onion row. Now there are some weeds coming up, but there's also some eryngium. So this stuff right here, this is the sea holly that's seeded itself around, and I thought maybe we could dig some of those. There's also a few echinacea. There's one right here. There's a couple more down this way. Anyway, the echinacea purpurea is right here, and the eryngium or sea holly is right here. Those are worth moving around because they're such productive plants and they're perennial. Got everything in the barn here, so what we're gonna need to do is we're gonna need to clean all of these onions, which I'm going to save for a little bit later. I'm just gonna leave these onions in the gator parked in the shade until I have time to do this project, but basically we come in and we cut the tops off, remove the roots. I showed you in a video not long ago, and then we pop them in the root cellar. So we got to do that to make room for these, and then I think we'll have enough room on the table, which is such a great table to dry things because there's a lot of airflow underneath, but we might have enough room to put some of the potatoes out as well. But I'd like to run out and get the nectarine handled, and there's Brunnera in particular that I want to deadhead. It's not a big project, but I think it's going to make them look so much better. So let's go do that, and I can do this project later on. Ooh, but maybe let's see if we can find the big onions here. Weigh them. Oh, that one's 2.7 as well. Okay. How about this one? 2.6. 2.5. 2.7 might be our biggest onion this year. Here's a Walla Walla. Hold on. Cheating if you've got a bunch of soil in there. Okay, clean. Oh, that's definitely not. Yeah, it's 2 pounds. Yeah, I'm just gonna call it 2.7 and I'm happy with that. That's a pretty huge onion. Okay, we need a pot for our nectarine tree. Let's see. Ooh, there's a black widow, you guys. Just chillin'. Look at that. Okay, knowing there's a black widow just chillin' right there, that means I'm going to inspect thoroughly each container that I need to move. Okay. I'm thinking maybe this terracotta one right here. Looking all the way around. Appears to be clear of arachnids. Oh boy, I don't know if that's big enough. I think I'm gonna go look behind the orchard fence. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, didn't really find what I wanted back behind the orchard fence, so we are back in the barn.
There's a black widow.
Yeah. We have to be careful of those, huh?
They're all over.
So I took a picture and I texted it to everybody and said, watch out, there's a black widow right here. I think I'm just gonna take this one right here. Make sure, yeah, okay, no spiders. No spiders. We're good. This one's nice and lightweight. Okay, I've got all of my supplies. We've got our container, we've got our potting mix, and then we've got our tree. So this is that Nectar Babe nectarine that I picked up this spring, and it's just been sitting in its nursery container. And if you look in here, you can see a fruit that fell and got caught in the branches. Most of them got quite a bit bigger than this. Want a bite? Yum, huh? So sweet and delicious. Oh my gosh. So this one is a zone 6 through 9, and the fruit, it says fruit size 3 inches, which most of them were that we harvested. And you do need another peach or nectarine variety in the vicinity to pollinate this one, which we have a small orchard, and we've got another huge orchard just right down the lane from us. So I don't usually have to worry about pollination. But one thing that we need to do with this container before we plant, I want to make more drain holes. You can see that this one it's got 4, but they're really small, and I need to use one of them for a drip line. I don't know, I just kind of want to make them bigger and then maybe do a couple more in the center. We struggled with the water in this container before, and that's why I want to do that first. Okay, here it is. Added 2 more drain holes and made these on the corners bigger so that we can put our 1/4-inch drip tube in. Water can still get out of that hole, but there's plenty more access for the water as well. Let me just feed this through the bottom. Perfect. So now we just need to get this all transferred. Easy. A little bit of biotone. It's not terribly root bound, which I thought it would be after being in the container all season, but you can still see a lot of soil here. So I'm just fussing with the bottom just a little bit. A little bit of fluffage, not much. Oh, perfect. Oh, look at this. I mean, you could stand to put it in a little bit of a larger container, but this one will work out great for a while. There's a good layer, I would say about 6 inches of soil down below, and then we'll have a nice layer around the outside. And you do want to make sure that your soil level leaves you enough room to water without it spilling over the sides. Then you can see my drip tube right here coming up. So once we hook that up, we'll have drip access. So we're just going to fill in around this root ball. Perfect. Oh, that looks so much better. I think it's going to be really happy in this container. I'm going to pop it over by our other dwarf fruit tree. It's a peach. So I'll have our dwarf peach and our dwarf nectarine over there. Now I did add in some biotone starter fertilizer with the soil before I introduced the root ball. All the potting soil though is fresh as well, so we've got some nutrients in that. And I'm also going to hit it with a little bit of the EDDHA chelated iron because it's showing a little bit of stress in the leaves, which usually when you have plants in containers, most of the time I want to say it's a water issue, in that this might have had like an influx of water and then it might have been dried out a little bit in between. Like they just get stressed a little bit in containers, but it's showing like the dark green veining with the yellow leaf tissue right here, which can also be indicative of an iron issue beginning to form up. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit it with that. It's got the biotone as well, and now that it'll have really consistent water once we get it hooked up to drip, it should correct any kind of leaf issue that I see going on anyway. We don't need a lot. Just going to sprinkle a little bit just around. That is plenty. And we're going to go water it in once we set it down over there. And here it is. Here it will sit for now. You can see the dwarf peach tree looks amazing. Doesn't that look awesome? So healthy. So I'm hoping we get the same results from this one here. Got it watered in, and I think it's just going to be really happy. A couple other things from this area. The container that Benjamin put together last spring, and it sat out here all winter. Look at this thing. I think this is a firelight, and then there's a wild berry heuchera down below, doing great. We've got a menagerie of stuff right here. These are the Lonicera topiaries that are no longer looking like topiaries anymore. I've got to trim those. And then we've got our grape trees, which really are they're doing great. They look so good. So good. Of course, we don't get any grapes this year on them. It's just kind of a training year. In fact, next year might be kind of a training year as well. But I am noticing their trunks starting to thicken up a little bit. I need to get a stronger stake on this one already. And then our heirloom mums. You know, we got these in as like little plugs, and then we potted them into 4-inch containers, and then they grew so fast that we had to pot them up into gallon-sized containers. They are just looking so fantastic. Look at these. Oh, they're so beautiful. I also cut them back quite a lot when we repotted them into these gallon-sized containers. And these are all meant to be planted in a high tunnel in the back by the red barn once we get that constructed. Hopefully sometime this fall. But for now, they just get to chill on these tables, and we can move them in and out of the sun, and they just are doing fantastic. Okay, the very last thing I want to get done, because I'm going to have to go shower and knock the onion smell off me before my sister-in-law's bridal shower tonight. We're gonna go clean up some brunnera near the house. Oh, on our way, look at this. This is the caladium planter. I think, what do they call it? Strawberry basket or something like that. It's one of the 2025 recipes for proven winners for, well, next year, clearly. So beautiful. Planted these as bulbs, and they just exploded. They look awesome. Caladiums are one of those that you just never know. Oh, I need my kneeling pad. So I was so excited when they started doing so well. We're kind of entering that weird time of year where you're like, oh, do I cut back perennials? It's kind of late. What should I do with them? And I'm just of the mind of just do whatever makes the plant look the best so that you like looking at your garden. So you can see this shady bed right in here. We've got some beautiful, can't remember if this is Queen of Hearts or Jack of Diamonds, but they look fairly similar. They're absolutely gorgeous. But they've got their bloom stock still from this spring. So had we got after these sooner in the season, I probably would have cut the whole plant back and let them come back fresh. But now that we're so late, I'm going to just take my time, and that's why this is the only thing I'm going to do today. I'm going to take my time and just individually take these bloom stalks out like that, so that we'll still be left with the canopy of leaves down below, but it'll just tidy up the look a bit. Well, that project turned into this project. Oh my goodness. But the area looks so much better. So I just came in and cleaned out those stalks. Doesn't that make a tremendous difference to these plants? They look so much more fresh now. What I really need to do is I need to bring a hose over here and just kind of give them a shower, clean them off, dust off the plants. And then I took after the lilac a little bit because it was so weighted down that I just kind of lifted the canopy all the way around so you can actually see what's in this flower bed. And this one is going to be changing here soon-ish, but we can keep it nice in the meantime. Because if you look right up here, you can see the locust that's more than half dead, and that's coming out. I think it's on their schedule in November. And at that point, this lilac's probably going to come out as well. It's super duper old. Last year it had slime flux. I don't know if it's oozing this year. Like, it had little holes in the trunk and they were oozing this white foam. And the wasps really loved it. It smelled like beer, actually. Like, it had a very yeasty, hoppy kind of smell. It was really weird. But anyway, we're holding it together by strings right now. See that? All these strings? It's just holding all the branches up. Otherwise, the whole thing would probably be laying a lot more flat than it was even today before I lifted the canopy a bit. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see how this flower bed sort of morphs. I think it's going to be a fun change. For sure. And you guys, that is going to be it for today's projects. I'm really happy with what we got done today. The bridal shower favors. Hope you guys enjoyed seeing that. I'm really happy with how they came together. That was a fun project and something kind of out of the ordinary for me. And then having some potatoes lifted is very nice. The onions are done. And then just this and that sort of projects. And if you stay consistent, like small consistent efforts, and just do a little bit of this and that every day, it adds up hugely. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.